Hello. Hello. It's another beautiful day in the Tarot neighborhood. And we'll talk about the Major Arcana. I'm going to be doing a YouTube on the meanings of those cards, but I wanted to do a sort of an introduction to the Major before I did that. And this might help you with some things with that. The Minor Arcana, there's ways to set up the Minor Arcana to work in some type of a system. Ace through 10, I already have that. You might have seen one of my YouTubes with that, where I say aces are a situation, new situation. Twos are a choice if you want to move forward with this situation. Threes are creating the situation if you do decide to move forward with it. Fours are stabilizing it. And then after that, when changes come in that situation, that's the fives. There's always going to be changes, challenges, blocks, things that come up that have to be taken care of. That's the fives. And then we have the sixes are overcoming those changes, getting through them. And then the sevens are more confidence in the situation because of the fact we overcome those obstacles. And then eights are, that allows us to advance forward even farther than we were before because of we tempered this situation now. And then nines are the ultimate accomplishment of that situation. And then tens are a completion. So that's setting up the pips of the Minor Arcana. It allows you to get some idea of what these cards can mean. The major, and then the core cards I just have is new paths are pages, knights are action, queens are patience and understanding, and kings are knowledge and information. But now you have the Major Arcana. There's 22 cards that really don't have any rhyme or reason. It's an obvious rhyme or reason within themselves in some way that is easy to remember the cards. There's ways around that. One of the things that gets confusing with the Major Arcana is you can study metaphysics through the tarot. And there's a lot of sources out there that will teach you that. But trying to tie in reading cards with that, I don't really see any real comparisons that work well for that. But they're giving the majors a meaning based on what their essence is all about, can still be done. Keeping in mind that this is what I want to do with these cards is read them. If you wanted to learn the majors, you can do it through, there's certain things like the Tree of Life, which I have an actual picture here. This is hanging on my wall. This is a Tree of Life. And each one of these is one of the Major Arcana, each one of these paths on this Tree of Life. I took that off the wall to show it to you. There's 22 paths on the Tree of Life. 10 houses, 22 paths. So each one of those paths can be assigned a card. And Eliphas Levi did that. And Manly P. Hall questioned it, saying that just because there's 22 paths on the Tree of Life doesn't necessarily mean that the cards have some meaning to go along with that. There could just be a coincidence that there's 22 Major Arcana. It doesn't really make much difference. I don't see how learning that helps you be a reader with the cards. It might help you understand metaphysics and using the cards in some way to do that. I really think there's better ways to learn metaphysics than tarot cards. And so I don't really think it's necessary. What I like to do with that, there's a book out called Young and the Tarot by Sally Nichols. And it's put out by Weiser. And this book has a chapter for each of the major arcana. That's what the whole book is. It has a chapter in the back on how to read the cards. And but really the main part of the book is a good background about what each one of the cards means. And it's really done well. And I love the book. And I think it was written in the 80s. And in the back page, in the hardcover version of this, there's a inset of the whole. She uses the the Tarot Marseille on this. And this is the 22 cards in order in 3 rows, seven cards apiece, and the Fool at the top. You might see that in other sources too, where they've taken the 21 of the majors and put them in 3 rows of 7. And the Fool just dances around them. It's number 0. And you could do that with any deck. You could do it with the Rider deck. You could do it with any deck. It doesn't have to be the Marseille. But what I found, and I've done that. Now, the way Sally Fields talks about that, the 3 rows, the 3 realms. And I really couldn't tie it together. I didn't, it wasn't for me. I love her book and the way she describes the cards, but I didn't see, I wasn't able to use the 3 rows that being 3 realms of something. But maybe you could. It's a great book. But anyway, what I liked about that is you can get a lot of information about knowing those cards by putting them in that order. 1 through 7, 3 rows. 1 through 7, the top row. 8 through 14, the second row. And 15 through 21, the third. And the Fool, number 0, is all by itself. What this allows you to do is memorize these cards easier. Because now you could sort of think and say, okay, well, Temperance, okay, that's the last card in the second row. Or Devils, the first card in the third row. Emperor's in the top row, middle. You start to know where they're at. And for some reason, with me, it helped me memorize the card meanings by knowing where they were at, looking at them that way in 3 rows. And you sort of get to know the cards too. I could tell you right now, okay, if you just off the top of my head, it's the cards are the Magician, number 1, High Priestess, 2, Empress, Emperor, Hierophant, the Lovers, Chariot, first row. Then we have Justice, Hermit, Wheel, Strength, Hangman, Death, Temperance, second row. Devil, Tower, Star, Moon, Sun, Judgment, and the World, third row. You can go backwards with that too. World, Judgment, Sun, Moon, Star, Tower, Devil, first, bottom row. Temperance, Death, Hangman, Strength, the Wheel, Hermit, Justice, second row. Chariot, Lovers, Hierophant, Emperor, Empress, High Priestess, Magician, the top row. You just know where they're at. And I remember when I was first learning, I had a hard time with a couple of the cards. You're all going to do that. There's going to be a couple of cards you're just not going to sink in for a while. And Temperance was one with me. I just couldn't get a meaning with that. And finally, I did with Inspiration is what I think of Temperance. Angels inspire us. So I think of Temperance as inspiration. But I remember the fact that I knew where it was in this group, last card in the second row, helped me familiarize myself with these major arcanas. I might download, I might have on my website, I might put one up, these cards, a file where you could download a PDF file where you could print it out. If I do that, I'll probably do it with the Rider-Waite deck. And so you could look at these cards like that. But if you could find some, or either that or you could find some material somewhere, maybe they have that somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And if you can get a setup where those cards are laid out that way, the Fool you don't need. But if you can get some setup where these cards are made out, where you have a way of seeing them like that, and memorize their order, it'll help you with their meanings. At least I think it will. I would stick with keyword meanings just like the minors. I would try not to get too involved with them deeply. But there's a lot of material, like I say, out there. You can go on a Paul Foster case. You can go into there's just material out there on the major arcana and what they mean. But it's really looking at it not from a card reader standpoint as much as a mystic who's trying to learn the occult or mysticism, and they're using the tarot cards for that. So it doesn't really help the reader, I don't think. But to give a good keyword meaning, a good basic meaning for each of those cards, it's easy to do if you can visualize their order like this. It'll help. And then using keywords will make it a lot easier for you. So that's what helped me. And the Fool is easy to remember. It's just 0. No rank at all. And the top row, it's just 7. If you take it row by row, it's just 7 cards. But you could visualize in your mind where these cards are at, and it just helps a lot to take it section by section like that. And you'll see that this comes to you pretty quick. One of the things that makes it easy to remember is on the bottom row, after the tower, you have the star, moon, sun. There's 3 cards right in a row that are planets or celestial, star, moon, sun. I think that helps learning something. Devil starts the third row. And on the top row, magician, high priestess, emperor, and empress, or empress and emperor, I should say. Those are kind of easy to remember. But you start to remember things like, the chariot ends the first row. The first row starts with justice, or second row starts with justice, I mean. Now, if you're using a Rider-Waite deck, and a lot of decks that copy that way of going about with a numerical value, strength and justice are transposed, as strength is number 8, justice is number 11. And that was Arthur Waite did that for some reason. But the thing is, it doesn't make any difference. To me, it doesn't make any difference. I don't really use the numbers in the meanings when I interpret these cards. Yes, they have numbers, makes it easy for you to identify the card, but it doesn't have any bearing to me on its meaning. And so that's the way I look at it. It just doesn't, the number doesn't mean any difference to me. Just a number. So the major arcana, it can get confusing because it can get deep into stuff with the major arcana. but it has nothing to do with readings. And, or at least I don't think it does. It doesn't really help you as a reader. But they're supposed to be, the major arcana, as they say, is supposed to be more significant than the other cards in a reading. So if the major arcana, you have a major arcana in the number 5 position on my Celtic cross, and you might look at that and say, well, really, you got to focus on your assets here. Or a major arcana in the 6th position, you might look and say, we've got to really focus on what opportunities you have coming up that we need to watch for, because it's a major. And we're supposed to pay more attention to them than the minors. I don't really do it that way. I don't really think that way. You're probably not going to do that either. Once you start reading, you're probably not going to think of it that way. It's just another interpretation. I really don't see the majors being any more significant than the minors as far as getting information to the client. I think the meanings of the majors can be toned down to everyday life on the same level as the minors. So like I said, I have the emperor is the builder, creating, manifesting ideas into realities. Power of the emperor. That project could be painting a bedroom, or it could be changing your career, or it could be building a subdivision. There's all sorts of different ways you could do it in different levels of that. So projects could be small, they could be big. And I think you could tone these cards down to small. Death card, transition, major transition. Well, if you go on a diet, that's a transition. It could be a small transition like that. And so I like to tone them down to everyday affairs, the physical that we're living in. And I think that'll help you as well. Major Arcana. I'm going to do a video on their meanings, and I'll probably do the whole set of 21 cards and the Fool in one video. But I thought this would be a good thing to just show you and tell you that I think it helps you to learn these cards if you put them in order like that, and have something where you could take a picture of it and print it out on your printer. And even if you just put the cards on the table and took a snapshot of that, it would work. But this has value, this type of layout. And I think it really helps you memorize those cards. 22 majors. The old thinking used to be that if a major was thrown out, it had significance. It made the other cards around it more important. That's another thing that was thought of with the majors. I don't use that. And I don't know anybody that does today. So the major arcana. I said that's about it for now. 22 cards with no pattern. Hope you like this. Keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon.